Next at the movies, Broken Rainbow. This year's Academy Award winner is Best Documentary, now going into national release.
The birth defect ratio on the Navajo reservation is twice the national average. Exposure to radiation is the probable cause.
The movie won this year's Academy Award for Best Documentary, although there are a lot of techniques in this movie that do not exactly represent documentary filmmaking at its finest. The name of the movie is Broken Rainbow, and it's a protest against bureaucratic government policies that are causing thousands of Navajo and Hopi Indians to be uprooted from their ancestral homelands in the Southwest. The film thinks there's an ulterior motive, big mining companies that want the coal and mineral wealth that's under those Indian lands. And here's a montage of 3 scenes from the movie, which is narrated by Martin Sheen.
Since before human memory, winds and waters have sculpted this sacred Indian land and shaped the landscape like no other on earth. For 150,000 moons, Indian prayers have bonded the land and sky. In 1974, Congress passed a law ordering 10,000 Navajo off their land. Land, the government says, belongs to the Hopi tribe. Congress has ordered the Navajo to move by 1986, despite the protests of the traditional Hopi and Navajo people.
Washington says, go away, go someplace else. Go walk among people and places you don't know. We're not hard enough to survive in places that we're unfamiliar with. If we leave here, we'll grieve for our homeland, and it'll kill us.
I really wish that Navajo leaders and Navajo people generally would take a look at this and say, we don't like it. It's rotten, it's unfair, we wish they had done it some other way. But we're Americans like everyone else, and we can change if we have to, and we'll find some more land that our kids will think is just as good as this land, and get on with it.
Broken Rainbow made me angry with the story of those Indians, and I was really shocked that Congressman Udall, who I have always respected, would be so insensitive to the feelings of these people and how their way of life and their ancient traditions are being disrupted by a bunch of politicians in Washington. And that's the purpose of this movie, which will be playing this week in about 100 cities around the country. I agree with the film's message. What I do not admire is its documentary technique. It's a confusing mixture of narration that tells us one thing, pictures that often show us something else. It even throws in old Western footage that has nothing to do with those people or their stories. It uses a shotgun approach, confusing the right of the people to stay on the land with all sorts of unproven conspiracy theories about who might want to push them off and why. Journalistically, Broken Rainbow uses slipshod techniques, but its heart is in the right place.
Well, of course its heart is in the right place, and that's why we're moved by it. But I must admit, and I'm sort of glad that, professionally that you spotted it too. I don't mean to patronize you with that remark. I was just going to say, I felt the same way. Slipshod techniques. For example, here's Congressman Udall, a very highly regarded man. I wanted someone to follow up. And I said, how can you say that? I wanted to hear that voice. I wanted Mike Wallace, if you will.
But they don't want to question him because they want to take that soundbite and use it in order to show that he's insensitive.
And then they move on to the next thing.
He's bad. Let's not go back to him. Let's not try to pin him down. Let's not try to get into it.
I want to give you another example. The thing you mentioned about the mineral companies. Let's go. I mean, let's face it. 60 Minutes could do this story better than the way that this movie has been done.
Oh, lots better, yeah.
And it could do it in 20 minutes. Now, give them 90 minutes. I mean, you would have an extraordinary documentary. This is a shocking, terrible story, badly told.
So here's a funny thing, then. In that case, do we recommend it or not?
You can recommend it, but you can't. You can recommend the issue, but you can recommend the film.
Got to have a lot of footnotes in it. Well, 2 thumbs down for Broken Rainbow. Gene was moved by it. So was I, but neither of us thought that the journalism in the film was worthy of the subject matter. A much better film could have been made with the same materials.
That's right. I mean, that's what I feel when I see that. No, I'm not going to tell my friend to go see it. You know why? Because I know that they know that the Indians are being ripped off. They've been ripped off for centuries. It's not going to change. And that's a tragedy. I just wish a better film had been made.
So then you wonder why the Academy Award was given to it. And it was probably because everybody thought, gee, it's terrible what's being done to the Indians, so let's give them an Oscar, which is terrific. You know, you can take their Oscar and move to Arizona with it. It seems to me that filmmaking is one thing, messages are another, even though we like the message.
My message is see the Richard Pryor movie.